Good morning everybody, welcome to Carnation Crafts TV. I'm Laura, we have Kat next door, and today we have something brand new for you. Today we're going to be looking at the garden song die that you can see there. You've got a brilliant card shape in here, or you could use it as your mats and layers, and then you've got that plant pot there with those foliage going up the top, and then you've got florals that you can add in these as well, and you've got your two little birds there as well. So really lovely set. It's super cute, and I love the example there with the circle card. You can see you can bring it away from that card shape as well, so there's lots of different ways that you can use this. Now we'll show you the board so you can see exactly what it is that you're going to get in here. It is on a show price for you at $49, which is that going up at midnight tonight? Yeah, so midnight tonight that's going to go back up, so $14.99 for this. Such a lovely price as well. So like you can see, you've got your main mat in the back there, so this could be used for your card bases if you want, or it could be your mat and layer to go onto a project. Then you've got your upside down plant pot there. Now I've loved that it's got that little hole there, so you could go in and fussy cut this out and put other little bits. You could have the bird coming out of there. You've got your flowers that you can build into these as well, and then you've got your mat and layer there where you can pop in your sentiment or put your focal point there too. And then you've got your two birds there as well, going in different direction, which is lovely, so you can build the scene in around there. But I'll show you some examples of what the design team have done, so you can see, let's move them out of the way, what the design team have been up to. So just to give you an example, so you can see they're using that mat and layer, so using that mat there as the card base, but then bringing in a circle for the sentiment instead, so you can see how that will build in, and bringing in different elements that you might have from other collections as well, bringing in frames that you might have as well. And then we've got one here. I think I'm gonna have to hold this on so you can see there. So you can bring in, you can see how effortlessly this is going to go with different collections that you already have. This is on some acetate, so you can see there, using that as a stopper there. Really pretty. Then we've got another one here, bringing in that mat for that card base, which just looks really pretty. But then you can see you could also use it without that mat and just pop it on to your projects, build those florals in, and think of those collections that you've got at home already that you can add into this, because I feel like this is just going to work with so many collections that you'll have at home already. And then look at that, look at the dimension that you can get on there as well. You can really go in and build these up. They're really pretty, and I feel really nice for this time of year as well. They're really spring bright and cheerful as well. I love the look of these. They're very clean and simple looking, so you can really go in and, you know, you can go in and build them up to a scene, or you could have something like that where it's a lot more clean and simple looking, so you can really go in and have fun with it. I love that with the little birds on the fence. It's just this time of year, isn't it, where you see the birds. And I was doing the dishes the other day in my kitchen, and my window is right by my sink, and there was a robin on the tree. I've got a tree at the front of my garden, and there was a robin on the tree, because it's not a tree, it's got flowers on it, so it's just like a white tree, and there was just a little robin on there, and all the flowers have come out now, and there was this little robin on there, and I was like, oh, it's officially spring. Like, all the flowers are out, all the daffodils are out. The sun has been shining for the last 2 days as well, so it's so lovely. I feel like the sun changes everything, doesn't it? The sun just makes everything so much better. Right, now let's go in and make a card of this. So I'm going to cut out, to start with, the main mat. So that mat in the background, we're going to cut this out. So I'm going to pop that onto my die, onto my plate even, so you can see this is what that's going to look like. I'm going to measure this as well. Oh, Kat, does it say the measurements for this die? Kat's going to have a look. because it's, even though I feel like it looks quite small because the foliage and the pop that you get is a really nice size. So when you put that on there, it fills it really nice, but I think it makes the shape look quite small. But it's not small, it does fill it really, really well. (11 centimeters by 12.8 centimeters. So that's the size of that mat. But you can see now I've cut it out in craft card because I've already cut one out in white for the card that we're going to do. So I just want to show you how different it'll look. So you can see when you pop that on there like that, it just fills that space really lovely, and it looks stunning like that in craft card. But then obviously you can do it in all of those different colours, and that's one of the things I really like the design team have done. Let me just grab this one. They've used cardstock, so you can see it's got that gradient in there. So you've got the green down the bottom and the blue at the top as well. So even pattern cardstock as well, it still stands out really, really nice. I really like that on the craft card. I might just do that. Should we do that one? What's that going to look with there? Because our sentiment. What should we do on there? We'll stick with the white because that's what I planned. And I never stick with what I planned. And I've got white on the back as well, so it needs to match. Right, so I've done 2 of these now. So exactly how I've just showed you that one. You're going to cut 2 of these out, and then I'm just scored across the top because I want this to stand up this way. So we're going to pop some of our everyday glue, and I have got Tuesday. I'm on the ball with this glue. So that is going to pop on there. So that's going to give us our card shape straight away. So that's going to stand up and hold itself up. Lovely. And then we're going to pop this in next. Now I'm just going to shape these leaves a little bit. I'm not too worried about where they're going to sit. Now I am going to use pin flare because I am going to add in some of those roses. So you do get the florals. You can see there your floral die. That will cut these out. Now what I've done with some of these, I've gone in and snipped some of them. So I've cut some bits away because I wanted to stack them around. So instead of them being like that, I've gone in, and they're really easy to snip into. You can see you've got 3 large rose heads there, so they're really easy to go in and snip into. So, but because I've done that, I want to tuck some into these. So I'm going to use pin flare so I can lift this up and just pop some little florals in where I want them. So I'm just going to add some pin flare on some of these leaves, so I can pop these where I want them to go then. So let's pop that on there like that. So that is just going to sit there like so. Now I'm going to pop in the sentiment first. So you've got, so we've cut out, so we've used this die and we've cut out that main mat, and then you've also got 2 more layering dies there. Now these are the bit that will fit in there. So when you cut these out, so you've got 2, you're going to end up with a mat and layer that will fit perfectly into that space with the foliage around it. So if I pop this on, I'm just going to use the Clean and Simple tip, that bit there. So now when I pull this off, that is going to fit there like that. So you can see that fits in perfectly around that leaf. So you've got that, and then you've got the exact same with the next one. that is going to fit there, and that gives you that perfect matte and layer around the edge. Now I'm just going to use this one to get close to that edge. So if you've got your clean and simple foam tip, you can use that, or you could use the foam pads actually just from the clean and simple, just to get into those smaller areas, just to make sure that they stand up. And then pop this off there. So we're adding lots of dimension onto this, because we are going to stick to just using this die on its own. But I think it's so pretty, even on its own, it just works so well. So this is just going to sit on there like that. So you've got your perfect matte and layer there now. So I've used perfect papers there in a light green, and we've popped down our plant pot. Now the next thing we're going to do, now I've die cut out another one of these, and I've cut the plant pot out. Okay, now that bit you're not going to waste that. I think I've used it on one of my next demos. So anytime you cut anything out, always keep it. So I've got this bit now, so that's going to layer on there. And again, I'm going to use pin flag because I am going to be tucking some florals in, so it just makes life a lot easier. But now you've got that dimension there of that plant pot being more forward. So now we can go in and start decorating where you want these florals to go. So you can tuck some in behind, you can add some in, and there's add these ones in there. So you can just go in and tuck these where you want them. And then we've got our, what were they called again, Kat? Bullfinches. And we can add these in. So I'm just going to use my ball tool, and I'm just going to round these off, because obviously you've got all those detail lines in there, so you don't need to worry about the card shape, the card scoring or folding. They're just going to round off perfectly. And then we're going to pop him for there, she says. I have got glue everywhere. And then let's get some more. And then we're going to add him there like that. So we've used all of the dies on that card set, and just look at how pretty. I just think they're so sweet. They're really fresh spring colours as well. They're just absolutely glorious, and you could use that for any occasion as well. It could be a Mother's Day, it could be a birthday, just a thank you, so it could be absolutely any occasion you could be using those for. They just work really, really well. So you can see that. So this is using everything that we get in the Garden Song die set that you can see there, which is on a show price for you of $14.99. You do have your P&P on top of that. We do have a stock update. 35% of the stock has gone. We've only just come on with it as well. I'm not surprised though. I think it is such a lovely, lovely set, and $14.99 as well. It is absolutely beautiful. So you can see there, that is your Garden Song die set that you can see. So this is exactly what you're going to get in that set. You've got that outside mat there that you can see I just used to make the card base. You've got your matte and layer there where you could pop a sentiment on. You could even build in another scene in there if you wanted to. You've got your plant pot with your foliage there going up the side of your card or your mat. And then you've got your birds and your roses there to decorate in with. It's just such a lovely card. Yeah, $14.99 for essentially a complete card that you could be making. It just works so well, doesn't it? Should we do some samples? let's show you some more. So we've got one here by Janine. You can see they're using that mat for your card base, bringing in those sentiments there on those mats and layers and building in. And when you look at these, you can see that they look different. Even just placing the birds in different places or placing the florals in different places does change the look of them. So they're never going to look exactly the same. So you can really go in and mix and match these ones up, and think about mixing them up with collections you already have at home as well. So you could really go in and build them up and build up, bring in your scene building elements like this, or you could just use it on its own but on a different size card, which I think is really nice, because that one I think I'm going to say is a 6x6 card. So just to give you reference size wise, but you can see even on a 6x6 card it works really, really well. So they do extend in, and this one's a lovely example of actually cutting that foliage away. So like the one I just did where I cut the pot, so when I cut this bit off, so I had the pot to decoupage up, and I said, you know, you're not going to throw this bit, you're going to keep it. This is a lovely example of what you could actually do with it then, because you could just use those on their own with the roses, and then you could do that and just pop in your bird on the bottom there with your frame sets that you might have. I love that with the little tap. I just think that's such a nice image of, like, I can imagine somebody sat in their garden and they can see that. And then we're going to do one more there, like that. So you can see even using it as a stopper there. So that's on some acetate. You can use it as a little pop-up, which again looks really nice there with that framework behind there. Looks really pretty. I think they just fit in with this time as well, don't they? Like spring. They just work really, really, really well. Right, let me grab another demo. Oh, Sharon has messaged saying, beautiful set. Is that what you said? Yeah. Thank you, Sharon. I totally agree with you. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Right, now this one, I wanted to try and use the card shape a little bit differently. So I've used the mats, so those mats that I showed you that you can cut out your mats and layers to pop the sentiment on, which is what we did in the last demo. I've cut the card shape out, so exactly as I showed you this one, you cut this out and then you're going to pop the mat on there like that, and then run it through your die cutting machine. So then that's going to give you that aperture in that card shape, and then I've scored down the bottom part. Okay, now before I glue this together, we are going to use some red liner tape that I feel like is not going to be enough, but we shall see. So let's pop some red liner tape along here. So I've run that through and I've done the exact same thing twice. So you can see the two of them have got that aperture in them. Oh no, it's not going to be enough. Let me see if I've got one. Oh, hang on, we might make it. Oh. Right, have I got another one? I feel like I have, and I tell you, it's probably stuck to something in my bag, because red liner tape just sticks to absolutely everything. It's fine though, it'll be fine. We'll go with it. So let's pull this off. Oh. I'm amazed that red liner tape came off me. Now, so somebody asked me, I can't remember what show it was, but I was saying how much I like using acetate, and somebody was asking me about die cutting out the carnation acetate. Now, that's what I've done on here, okay? Now, you will know the pressure on your machine. Every machine is different. Now, if I'm cutting out the carnation acetate, I put a thin sheet of paper on top, and it cuts out perfectly. So you can see there, even the shapes on the side, it'll cut out. So I always say, like, the more basic the shape, obviously it's going to cut out better. I wouldn't attempt to cut out something really intricate, but for something like this, it absolutely will. So I'm going to pop that on there, and then where I've got that score line, I'm just going to cut that bit off because I don't need that bit. And then I'm going to use my everyday glue. I'm just going to, now if I was doing this at home, I'd put red liner tape on there again. But just for speed, I'm going to use glue. So that is going to go on there, and then this is going to go on top of there, so you don't see any of the glue, unless you put your sticky finger on it like I've just done. So you've got that window of the acetate, but then that bottom bit is going to stand out, which gives you your card to stand up. But you've got that aperture there with the acetate in. So we're going to do it like that. Now we're going to go in with our pot there. The detail on this, when you cut them out and you get all those cut lines in, honestly, when you print them out and you see the detail, like the plant pot's even got a pattern going across it, but then when you die cut them out and you see the detail added in the cut lines, and then obviously with the artwork, it's so pretty. So that is going to go on there. So, and I've got my sentiment. Let's stick the sentiment on first. So I've got with love, so I'm going to pop that on there like that. Now I am going to pop this on with some glue. Now I would use, actually I probably would use glue if I was doing this at home, but I think what I'd probably do if I was doing this at home, so if I was doing this for somebody and I was selling them, cut your sentiment out twice, and then so cut that with, so this was actually stuck together and I've just snipped in the center to make them separate. So what I do is cut it out twice, and then where you've stuck with, flip it round and stick another one on the back, because then that's just going to cover any of your glue marks, so you're not going to see it. So you could do that, but it is white. So, and the glue does dry clear, so you should be okay. But if, I know some people can get a bit funny about glue marks, so if you want to do that, you can absolutely do that. Now we're going to go in with the plant pot, and then you've got your foliage coming up there. Now, like I said, the one I cut out earlier, I've still got that, so we're going to go in with this as well. So you've got, I've got a leaf there, ooh, that I've cut, and then this bit, so you can see that is from there, and then that bit is the bit that I've cut away from there, so you can see how I've gone in and cut those up. So we're going to go in now with our pin flare again. So I'd always say to use pin flare, especially if you're doing something where you're not quite sure where you want to place things, because it's so easy to just pop things up, and you can tuck things under them, you can still pull them up and move them around as well, so it does make life a lot easier. So I'm going to put that on there, and you can see you still get that dimension using pin flare too. And then this one, I'm going to tuck under there like that, so I'm going to bring this along there. So I'm going to pop some glue on those leaves, and then I'm going to just lift that up and tack that there like that, and then we're going to pop this one there, I think, just to bring that up. There, and then we can go in, and again let's grab our foam, and then we can go in and just give these a shape, which I do feel just really adds to them, and they hold their shape so well. You can see, look, so there's one. I love how bright they are in the artwork, like the blue and the orange. It really pops, doesn't it? So we're going to pop one down here. Like that. And then one there. Oh, stuck to my nail. There. So you can see, if I can pick it up, so you could use it as an aperture. So if you wanted to use that, so you could go in, and you can't really see that very well, can you? So you could use it like that. So with acetate, you could use it with vellum, you could go in with different things, but I just wanted to show a different way that you could use the matte as the card base, but instead of using those dyes as matte layers, you could use it to make an aperture, which I think works really well as an aperture, because it just brings your attention in to these a lot more. But again, that has all been used. So bar the sentiment, everything there is from the Garden Song die set that we have on today. This is a brand new Crafter Select. It's item number 241110, and it is on a show price for you of $14.99. You do have your P&P on top of that, but $14.99 for this die is such a good price. And it will go back up at midnight tonight, so you can see that is your die set there. Such a pretty die. Should we do some samples? So we'll go through some of the design team samples for you, so you can see how they have used these, and you can see how different they all look as well. So using them with different card shapes and dies that you might have at home already, or using them like that as a standalone, using the mat there to make your card base, and then bringing in the plant pot, all the foliage, your florals and your birds as well. Or you could still use it as the card base, but bring in different dies that you have at home already. So you can see like the tap there and your rocks. So you know, think of those dies that you've got at home already that you could build garden scenes with. Do you know, I even think you could get away with this for Christmas. Because I think if you change, you know, if you've got a robin die and you changed it, I think, and you didn't put the roses on, I think you could get away with it. Imagine like a winter scene behind it, and then you could change it up. So you could change them for different seasons too. But I just think it's such a lovely artwork to look at. It's really uplifting, clean, simple, spring, beautiful colours in here, and they could be for any occasion as well. Like, you know, you've got sending you love, get well, thank you, may your birthday wishes come true. You know, there's so many different ways that you could use these. Happy birthday to someone special. And again, from that card there, using the mat to make the card shape, you've gone to this one, which is a full sheet of cards that fold in half, and you can see building that up with collections that you've already got at home. You can really see how you can build up the difference. So even from going from like something smaller scale, like this one, to going into something like that. They're just so pretty. So pretty. So those are the cards that our design team have been up to. I'm just going to grab another demo. Right, so this one. So again, I've tried to think of different ways of using just the die on its own, okay? So I've gone in, so exactly like I showed you just now, you've gone in with that first die, you've cut out in white cardstock, so you're using that main die. So I've cut that out and then I've just scored across the top because I'm going to make this into my card shape, okay? Then you do exactly the same thing again in white cardstock, so this is going to sit on there like that. So let's glue this bit together because this is going to be our card base. So we'll just pop that on there. So that is just going to sit there like that. So our card base is done. Now you can see I've already stamped happy birthday on there. Now I've done the exact same thing again. So like I showed you just now, cut this out and popped in that smaller die. So pop that in once you've cut it out. So I've cut 3 of these out, cut one out with that matte die in there to give me that lovely aperture. And then for this one, I'm going to go around this with the foam tip from our Clean and Simple. So I'm just going to pop this along where that aperture is. Oh, let's get rid of that. To hold this up. Because I will say, I think one of the most important things when you are making any type of aperture is that you've got enough foam under it, because you don't want it to, you really need it to hold itself up. So you can see the dimension that you're popping in there. So I'm just going to add these only around this bit. And then that should go down like that. So cut that bit off. And then I'm just going to go in with my normal foam tape. This one's a bit wider just for speed. So this can go on there. So we're going to raise this up from the back. So this is going to give us that lovely aperture in the center with that sentiment then. So let's pop that there. Right, so we're going to pop these off here. Now you could use pin flare for these if you want. Sometimes you do get more height when you're using pin flare in between your layers, but the only thing I will say, because I always use foam tape in between my layers, is when you're using pin flare, you can squash your layers when you're putting something on top of it. So just be careful if you're using pin flare in between those layers. So this now is going to fit on there like that, and then you can see you've got that aperture there then with the sentiment popped in. So now we can go in and do the decorating bit. So this is the bit where you just get lost and you think of other things you can bring in, and you think of other collections that you've got that you can bring in. And I think you'll make one and then you'll think, oh, if I do this, or what if I add that in, it's going to change the look of it. So we're going to pop that one on there like that. So that's just going to sit there. So you got that lovely pot there, and I love it. Just looks, it's effortless, isn't it? Because all that work is done for you. And I've done the exact same thing again, where I've cut that away so I can decoupage up the pot. So we're going to add in some more dimension to the artwork. So that is just going to sit on there like that. And then what I'm going to do with these is that is going to tuck in there like that. So let's add some glue. is going to go under there like that. So we're just going to extend really where that is going. Or should I stick it under there? No, I'm going to stick it under that one. So that's going to go over there. Let's just put a little bit of glue there and there. And then that's just going to tuck in there like that. And then we can go in and add in our florals and add in our birds as well. So let's get our ball tool. You can go in and give these some nice shape to them because they really stand out. I think these are just, you know, the colourways in the foliage, and then you've got like the pastel colours. You've got your beiges in there from the pot and the earth as well. So you've got your grounding element there. But then I feel like because these are blue and they're almost like a pinky orange, the same colour as the florals, they just stand out so much. So it doesn't matter where you place these really, because they really just pop off the card. So let's add in some of these. Let's add and tuck one in there like that. And then add another one there. So you can see now these ones, I've broken these up, so don't be afraid to go in and fussy cut these out because they do come like this. So, but you can see you've got 3 large floral heads there, so you can really go in and snip these out. So if you want to change the shape of them or change the way that the direction that they're going, or you just want to separate them like I've just done, so just spare them out a bit, you can absolutely do that. Have I glued? No. Okay, check that. I'll pop one there. And then pop one there, and then actually I'm going to pop him just there like that. And then I need one more. And just give him a bit of shape. So just grab your mat. And you don't really need to do anything with these, you just push them down and they've just got their shape straight away because you've got all of those detail lines in the die for you. And then this one we're going to just pull him there like that. So now if I lift that up, and all my pin flare stays in place. So you can see, so it's just another way of using that mat for your card base, but popping that aperture in. You could pop cardstock in there as well, so you don't have to use it like the one that we just did with the acetate. So you could do it like that, or you could use the matte layers on their own. And use the matte layers to build them up. But essentially, you know, more like very similar cards, but using those mattes completely differently. So you could build the matte layers up and add more dimension on the sentiment. You could add your aperture into the card base as well, or you could completely make an aperture out of it and pop in. You could add, like that one's acetate, you could add vellum into those, so you could add in different materials into those too. But 3 completely different ways of using your garden song die set that you can see is our Crafter Select for today. It's on a show price for you of $14.99. That is going to go back up at midnight tonight. But you can see everything that you can see there, and we have just been told 40% of the stock is now gone, and we do have this on again at 2, I think that So we will be back with this at 2 o'clock, but you can see that it's such a lovely set. Should we go back to the board? So you can see here exactly what you're going to get. So you can see the card shape that you could use as that card base or your mat to go onto your projects. You've got your pot there with your foliage and those matte layers that I was just showing you. You know, use them as matte layers, use them as apertures, build those into your cards. You've got your birds there as well with those stunning flowers, your rose heads there that you can cut up into, use them separately, or you could use them together as a bunch onto your card projects too. So lots of different ways that you can build these up. You could use the base on its own. So if you want to use the card base just to make the card on its own, you could use it as a card. So just look at other dies that you've got already that you can bring in and use them in your base cards, or mix and match them up. Look at that. So cutting into them and changing the direction that the foliage is going in with those birds as well. Use them as your card base. So use that mat as your card base, bring in those mats and layers, and you can see there, you can really build these up. And even using it like that, look how different those two look. So think of your nesting dies as well that you might have at home already that you could add in there. We'll just change the look of that. Again, bringing in those small details of other collections that you've got at home already, or even bringing in your frames. Think of those matte and layering frames that you might have there already, the dimension that you can get on these. And that's just using those roses and the foliage with the bird there from the set completely separately. So you can see there how the DT, I think all those are Janine have done, so big thank you to Janine for doing those for us using that. That does bring us to the end of our first show. We will be back at 12 o'clock with Enchanted, Pure Enchanted, and then we will be back with this again at 2. So hopefully we will see you at 12, but bye for now.